Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 3 matchup between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the NIU Huskies. Two teams trying to get back on track as we look forward to Week 3. Nebraska's already 0-2 on the season. Two tough losses so far. Lost to Minnesota on the road Week 1 and then Colorado just last week, and they're taking on NIU here in Week 3, a team that currently sits at 1-1. We'll be covering a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Northern Illinois lost to Southern Illinois last week, 11-14 being the final. Just an ugly loss there. I mean, losing to SIU, an FCS team, probably shouldn't lose that one if you're NIU, but this team did have a halfway impressive win in Week 1. Beat Boston College on the road 27-24. Went into overtime. Boston College, probably one of the worst Power 5 teams this season, it appears, but still wins a win against a Power 5 team on the road. As for Nebraska, this team got beat up by Colorado last week, 14-36. Kept it close in the first half, but the turnovers just really got to Nebraska. That's really what came back to bite this team. This team would have had a chance in that game if the turnovers didn't happen, and so that's definitely something that I can imagine is going to be a big focus for the Huskers moving forward, is fixing that. Even in the Minnesota game, turnovers were brutal for Nebraska. So, and of course, the loss to Minnesota, it was close, 13-10. Colorado wasn't quite as close, but still for the Huskers, an 0-2 start to the season. Games be on Saturday, September 16th in Lincoln. Night game for this one, 6 p.m. Central Time is the kickoff. Spread's going with Nebraska by 11. Over-under is 42, and the FPI is going with Nebraska as well, 75%. So Huskers favored as you'd expect, but maybe not by as much as you would think as well. I mean, NIU is no special team in the group of 5, if we're being honest right now. And for Nebraska being at home, night game, you'd expect the spread to be a bit heavier. But you got to consider the Huskers offense is not very good so far this season. I mean, it's been poor. This is a team that's only scored 24 points in their first 2 games. And turnovers have been a major issue for this Nebraska team. Defensively, they could be pretty good, and they've shown promise. It's just the offense that has been very poor. And kind of a similar story for Northern Illinois. This is a team that defensively has shown potential. It's just the offense that has been terrible. So it makes sense to have the over-under at 42. This could be a pretty lower scoring matchup, I would imagine here, and between 2 poor offenses and 2 halfway decent defenses. Series history, Nebraska leads at 3-1. We did see NIU beat Nebraska in Lincoln a few years ago, but the last matchup in 2019, Nebraska won it 44-8. Your stat comparison for this one, NIU statistically is the better team, but they have played Boston College and SIU. Nebraska has played 2 probably top half Power 5 teams so far this season. But obviously the offensive side of the ball for Nebraska has been very poor so far this season. Defensively, not too bad. 64th in points allowed, 9th in rush defense. So Northern Illinois is going to have a tougher time running the ball here, I would imagine. But for NIU, this is a pretty balanced team statistically so far, although I definitely think that defensively this team is better. They got Rocky Lombardi as the quarterback for NIU, which, I mean, he's a quarterback that has been around forever at this point. He was with Michigan State and played Nebraska in Lincoln in 2018, which Nebraska did win the matchup in a lower scoring matchup. But Rocky Lombardi's back in Lincoln this many years later. It's pretty insane to think about that. That's definitely one of the storylines heading in. But either way, Lombardi, really nothing special. I mean, he's passed for 460 yards so far this season, a touchdown, thrown 3 picks. Really nothing too insane, but he is a quarterback that brings experience. That is something you could keep in mind for NIU, but once again, defensively is really where this team could be strong. But for Nebraska on the other side, Jeff Sims so far this season has been a big issue for this offense. I mean, the backfield has been halfway decent. Jeff Sims has also ran for 158 yards so far this season. He's the lead rusher for this team. But the problem is the passing game. This team has got some talented receivers. It's just Jeff Sims has really made some critical errors at the worst times, and that's really come back to bite Nebraska. I mean, this team was right in there against Colorado last week. I mean, the first half, it was low scoring, and Nebraska's defense was keeping them in there. It was just the Huskers' offense needed to get some points up on the board. and they just weren't able to do that. They had a couple of really bad turnovers, and things got out of hand quickly, especially in the second half. So, I mean, for Nebraska, Jeff Sims, he's got to be better if this team wants any chance of getting up to 6 wins this season, which I think that's kind of been the safe goal for Nebraska heading into the season, was get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game, maybe win it, and that's a successful season, something to build on. But the way Jeff Sims has been playing so far, and he's also a quarterback, which, by the way, he's not a very young quarterback, and he played for Georgia Tech multiple years, and that's the reason why I don't have as much optimism for Nebraska right now, is because of the offense. Jeff Sims being a quarterback that's older now, he really hasn't broken through yet. And I mean, that's the thing too. He could still break through for Nebraska, but I mean, he's just an older quarterback now. If you had a younger quarterback, I feel like there would be a bit more optimism, just because they're a young talent and they can build into the offense. They can learn, and the team could be turned around by the later parts of the season. I just don't see that out of Jeff Sims right now. So, I mean, if he can be better, and if he is better, that's a great thing for Nebraska. This team can definitely still get to a bowl game. That's just been a big concern so far the first couple of weeks. It's definitely been ugly offensively for this team, but they got the home field advantage. This is a must-win game for Nebraska as well. I mean, you drop this one, you're 0-3, just in a really bad situation. But you also got to consider this is year one of a Matt Rule coach team. And we saw Matt Rule at Temple and Baylor do it, turn around the team in a couple of years. And year one was always ugly, but it got better after that. So, but either way, this is a matchup that Nebraska is more talented. And in the end, let's get to the prediction here for this matchup, NIU-Nebraska. And once again, Nebraska defensively, they're going to get it done. They win this matchup 27-13. I think defensively for Nebraska, taking on a Northern Illinois team, I mean, NIU scored 11 points against an FCS SIU team last week. Defensively, they should get it done, no problem. I wouldn't be surprised if they held NIU under 10 points, honestly. They should be able to do that pretty easily. And in the end, I think this is going to be more of a lower scoring matchup. I definitely think it goes under, but Nebraska scores enough points and they get a nice defensive touchdown somewhere in this matchup, which helps them out, and they get the win 27-13. So I'm going to say Nebraska 65% under as well. Nebraska covers the spread, which is currently 11 points as well. So Nebraska offensively, we're going to learn a lot about this offense in this matchup as well. If they can play well, show some potential, show some upside, I think that could bring a lot of optimism moving forward into a tough Big Ten schedule. But anyway, with that, appreciate you guys watching as always. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on this matchup, and stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.